Hello, everybody. I am excited to tell you about a brand new podcast we're about to do. And let me introduce you to Sandy Griffin.
That's me.
Sandy is going to be doing a new podcast called Voices from the Streets. And this is a podcast where we are about to give people who are homeless, actually, an opportunity to tell their stories, to talk about life on the streets. And Sandy, there are a lot of very interesting stories out there that we're about to tell. But let's tell yours first. Can we start with you?
Sure. It might not be too interesting, though.
All right. So we're under the bridge right now, and Sandy, we've served a lot of meals under here in the last few years. There are some great people here, but you haven't always been involved with the homeless, and you've never really been homeless yourself.
No, I haven't, but you know what? I grew up in a family of 12 kids, and my dad died when there were 9 kids at home. So I grew up without money, but not poor. And I think that poor is just a state of mind.
Yeah.
And so people tend to think that people that are homeless don't have a story, don't have a heart, don't have feelings. And I think that, I would say that I've always wanted to give a voice to people that don't have a voice.
Right.
I was a motivational speaker, still am, and found out that I get on the stage and perform, but I really want to speak to people that don't have a voice, to let people know that everyone has a story, everyone just wants to be loved.
Yes. And there's a whole lot of stories here. You've been involved with this for a while on the streets, but did you get involved with this by accident, on purpose? What motivated you to get involved in the first place?
It was by accident. I came to Nashville from Chicago. I went to Willow Creek Church, and I moved to Nashville 6 years ago to help plant a church.
Yeah.
And the church lasted a year, and then all of a sudden the church had used my garage to put all the styrofoam containers for food that we had used. And I thought, I'll have to find a church to give them to so they can use them. One morning I woke up and God just put on my heart, just as clear as could be, cook for the homeless. And so I cooked.
And that was kind of, you'd never really done that.
It was really out of the blue. So I started cooking, and I drove downtown. I called my daughter, who lived in Nashville, my daughter Lauren. We drove downtown, we went by the riverbank, and we found some homeless. Every week then we made 30 to 38 meals. Wow. And then I would go, a lot of them go to the library, and there's a park across from the library. So they would go and they'd hang out there. And I'd go by the library, and they would all come in, and they'd get these meals. And so I started doing that, and then pretty soon I ran out of styrofoam containers, and I was buying them at Sam's because I knew it was something that I had to keep on doing, that I had to keep on feeding the homeless. Not thinking it would just keep going, it would go into serving the homeless all over.
And you're doing this almost every day now.
You know what, I do it every day. My team runs in the middle of the night. All the homeless have my cards. If they need rides, I've gotten doctors to do things for free for them. I've done pretty much everything, and it just really was what I was put on the service for.
So, a lot of people say, well, I just don't have a heart for it. Did you have a heart for it right away?
You know what, I did have a heart for it right away. But what I found out is that I have a heart to be right with them, to hear their stories, to be able to hold them, to listen to their stories, and I can accept it because I love their honesty. But what a lot of my friends have found out is that they don't have a heart for being right in the midst of it. But one of my friends wrote a check to me and gave it to me for $5,000. He said, here, use that. He said, I can't do that work that you do, but I would love to support you. So I have friends that go and collect clothes. I have friends that do other things that don't want to be here in the wind and the rain and with the homeless because it doesn't feel right to them. But we can all come together. And now all of a sudden they're finding that they have a heart because they will say, tell me what you need. So I have people all over the United States because I have about 16,000 people following me on Facebook because I write a motivational post every day. And when I put a need up there, I have a girl from Boston that sends things all the time. And I have people all over, a guy that sends checks from New Mexico to help when I put a request up. People that are saying, I want to help you because I see what you're doing and I support it, but I can't do it like you do. So does everybody have a heart for it? Yes, but it depends on how they have a heart for it.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
So, Sandy, you're going to, and there's my friend. Let me give
Thank you. Thank you for the food.
You're welcome, sweetie.
Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you very much. I didn't have the money to buy you food.
Sandy, you're about to do a podcast then, talking to people about their stories, their life on the streets. Basically allowing them to tell you how they got there. know how they're faring on the streets. And some of these people are actually Christians. In fact, a lot of them.
You know what? A lot of them are Christians, Bob. I remember a couple of years ago, one of the homeless guys was real drunk, and I brought him downtown to a safe place, dropped him off at a gas station where he could camp right behind it. And after I left, I found out the next day he walked into the street, a car hit him, he fell, another car hit him. He had bones sticking out of his legs and broke his back, had a brain injury. Well, he always called me Pretty Lady, and I spent the next 2 weeks at Vanderbilt and was there as they did surgery after surgery on him. But after he had the first surgery, he came out of surgery, and he opened up his eyes, and he looked at me and smiled and said, "Hello, Pretty Lady. I love Jesus." And the doctors and nurses were amazed because right away I knew that he was going to be okay because he knew who I was.
Yeah.
And that right away, the first thing was to tell me, I love Jesus. And through all his pain and all his subsequent surgeries and everything, he's walking through braces on his legs now, 2 years later. But he still, right away, his first thing was, I love Jesus. Not, why did this happen to me?
Right.
I love Jesus.
That's cool.
And so the doctors and nurses told me later that, being there and hearing him, that they realized they judged him all wrong because they kept saying he's going to fight here, homeless. And then they realized it has to do with that one word, and it's just love.
That is so great.
It was amazing.
Well, folks, Sandy is about to do a podcast weekly on this. Sandy, we're talking right now on a Sunday. Behind us, is the bridge. It's a little cold here today. There's a storm coming up. It's raining and cloudy, and yeah. But
they still need to eat when it's like this, so we still show up.
We still show up. That's right. So starting next week, folks. Starting next Sunday, Sandy's going to be interviewing people. This podcast will continue next week with Sandy and her friends. And she'll begin to interview some people. And I really want you to watch this. I want you to pay attention. I want you to hear some of the voices from the streets, some voices from the other side, some people that you haven't listened to yet that have a little different story that you need to pay attention to.
Open your heart so our friends can become your friends.
Absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
like
our
that.
family can be your family.
That's good. So anyway, starting next week. So don't miss it. It's called Voices from the Streets with Sandy Griffin.
Thanks. Welcome, and I look forward to having you become part of our family.
Great.